Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a premiere disc of music by Jonathan Leshnoff, the American composer who was born in 1973 and is still with us, and who is really making a splash in classical music circles. His stuff is all over the place. It's been widely recorded, widely performed, and I think deservedly so. His music is very attractive on a first hearing. It doesn't pander, but it has elements that everybody can identify with. Those elements being, first of all, a kind of, in the fast music anyway, a sort of motoric ostinato style with offbeat rhythms and perpetual pulsing motives. And, it's kind of like minimalism with a tune. Pure minimalism is like a pulse thing, that just deals in shifting harmonies most of the time. But Leshnoff actually adds melodies on top of the harmonies, which, of course, lots of us who even enjoy minimalism have often felt that, gee, it would be nice if there was a tune on top of this, because it sounds like accompaniments without the melodies. Well, he has the melodies, which is a good thing. And then, in addition to that, there is a sort of, well, I wouldn't call it serene, but soft, quiet, melodic, slow music based on consonant harmonies, but they are always shifting in unpredictable ways, in and out of dissonances and things. You know who sounds a bit like that is Martinu in his slow music, which is often more chromatic, but also has moments of beautiful harmony that pop up unexpected. Technically, the term is non-functional harmony. In other words, it's beautiful harmony for its own sake. Chords that relate to each other, but not in quite the way you'd expect them to, and not according to traditional textbook rules. And he does this very, very beautifully and effectively. And from these two contrasting styles, he has forged a personal idiom, out of which he has written all kinds of music. So this disc, which features the Oklahoma City Philharmonic, which plays quite well, under Alexander Michelthwate, is got, let's see what we got here. We have a piece called Elegy from 2022 for strings, harp, timpani, and at one climax, a bunch of horns, 4 horns, sort of doubling the strings. A lovely piece in the style of the Adagietto from Mahler's Fifth and, other things like that. It's quite elegiac. It gets the job done, and it's lovely. And I think, actually, Leshnoff's writing for harp in this piece is very, very effective. It's not like just sort of swoosh, swoosh, swoosh and ripple, 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 ripple. It's flecks of harp, very nicely touched in, that adds something really special to the patina of sound, the palette. It's a lovely work. It really is a lovely work. The second violin concerto is lots of fun. It's in 4 movements, about 25 minutes long, which is as long as a concerto needs to be. And they are, I have to say, the outer movements are part of that sort of driving ostinato style. And one of the things about driving ostinatos is that the longer you keep them up, the more monotonous the music is going to sound. So avoiding monotony is a challenge, and Leshnoff does it. But one of the things that also happens, and this is a fascinating subjective quality, is that your sense of time starts to expand, time spent. So, for example, the first movement is only 6 and a bit minutes long. It sounds much longer because of the relentlessness of it all, because this driving rhythm is always pulsing underneath the thing. And so, he's able to accomplish a lot, musically speaking, in a small space. Now, some listeners might just find that the monotony does sink in, because of that rhythmic relentlessness. But that's a personal quality. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very powerful. Then there's a very beautiful, long, slow movement with a Hebrew name we don't need to go into because I don't care about nicknames for things. And an adorable little scherzo and a zippy finale that brings back some material from the first movement, but otherwise has its own business to mind. It's well written. It's exciting. It seems the violin is having fun. It's fabulously well played by, let's get this right, Noah Bendix-Balgley. Did I do that right? I have no idea. But Noah Bendix-Balgley, who's concertmaster of the Berlin Philharmonic, but hails from North Carolina or someplace like that, plays absolutely wonderfully. And it's a beautiful piece. It's from 2017. So you see there is good modern music being written. and we should all listen to it for that reason. The last piece is a little bit problematic, and it's called "Of Thee I Sing." It's a tribute. It was commissioned as a tribute on the 25th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. And works like this are always going to be a bit touch and go. I mean, remember John Adams on the Transmigration of Souls, the 9/11 commission, which is just horrible. It was awful. And it won a Pulitzer Prize. It was just embarrassingly bad. This is much better than that. A much better piece than that thing. But I will say, even so, you can feel the gears whirring as it's going. Of Thee I Sing consists of a big orchestral exordium, another thing that contrasts these two styles of Leshnoff's, the driving ostinato style and the very still, almost hypnotic, in this case, quiet, elegiac style, for want of a better word. Very, very beautiful. And that is most of the piece. And then at the end, the chorus comes in singing, you guessed it, My Country 'Tis of Thee, which is not My Country 'Tis of Thee. Of course, the tune is God Save the King. And it's such a familiar tune, and it's been used by so many people that I think it's almost impossible to quote it with the kind of seriousness and gravity that Leshnoff intended. I wish he had used the words and written his own music. That, I think, would have been better. I mean, maybe he could make reference to it, but what happens in the piece is that he hints at the tune. And the first time you hear it sort of coming out, what he's doing and hinting is basically playing the rhythm of the tune, but using different notes so that you hear dum bum 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 a lot, and it can do anything in any melodic pattern you want. But you hear it and you're like, oh, I know that, I know what's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming, and then it finally arrives, and he harmonizes it in ways such as to not make it just the simple traditional tune, to try and keep it interesting. And he kind of avoids quoting it in its naive simplicity, the one we're used to, until the very end. Now, he does do actually 2 extra verses of the song, so none of us know those extra words, since we only do the first bit. It rises to a big splashy climax, as you might expect, but it ends softly, which I think is very tasteful and very appropriate. I mean, it pushes all the right buttons. It really does. But how you'll react to that tune being there, I really don't know. And while we're on the subject of that tune, I think it's only reasonable that I present the world premiere recording of the original, that is God Save the King, in its original wording since King Charles became king. I think that since the British will never sing the original words, because, it was not originally the British national anthem. Originally, it was sort of a bawdy drinking song. So here is the original with, moderate, just slightly revised to take into account current circumstances. Are you ready? King Chuck, he stayed out late. He stayed out very late. He was the king. Camilla paced the floor. The king came home at 4. She met him at the door. God save the king. There you go. Anyway, so that's it. It's very nicely sung here by the Canterbury voices. I mean, the sincerity isn't in doubt. The taste level isn't in doubt, but it still sounds a bit corny, and that's to me, and you may disagree. Certainly, it's a worthy effort, a serious effort. I'm not going to ridicule that the way I trashed on the Transmigration of Souls, which was just sort of vulgar and tasteless, and also in way too close proximity to the event in question. Here we're 25 years away. I think it's a little bit easier to wrap your brain around the horror of the day and to do something that's touching and appropriate. I don't know how much legs a work like this will have. But then again, it doesn't have to. It was written for a specific purpose. It served the purpose. And if it's forgotten afterwards, it was an occasional work, and that's that. So on the whole, this is an interesting disc, an important disc by a major modern composer. It deserves to be heard. It's very well played, very well recorded, and I can recommend it accordingly. So keep on listening, friends, and pardon my voice. It's terrible, I know, but we did have to get the right words to God Save the King, and this was a irresistible opportunity. So take care. Bye-bye.